Hey guys, I'm DiggsGaming and thank you so much for clicking on this video. Before I forget, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what games you want to see us review and what topics you want us to cover on the podcast. Now, on to the review. You know, there are just some gaming franchises out there where no matter what the generation, no matter how many games they put out, they consistently put out games that are just fun to play. Whether it be Mario, Zelda, even Tomb Raider. And yeah, there may be some slip-ups along the way, but for the most part, their games are quality, and they are so much fun to play. And I would add Ratchet & Clank to this list. The reason? These games have been consistently good for 19 years now. Whether it be the original trilogy, the future games, even the movie tie-in that was also a retelling of the first game, and the PSP games. All of these games were enjoyable, and there's not really a bad game in the franchise, there are just some games that aren't as good as the others. And Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart may be the best game of them all. In fact, I would go as far as to say that it's the best game that Insomniac has ever done. Yeah, it's a bold statement, however, it definitely deserves it. There are people that are calling this the best PlayStation 5 game so far, and I can't disagree with it. Insomniac basically took advantage of what they could do with the PS5. They pushed it to the absolute limit and created a game that is just so much fun to play, and a game that shows just what next gen is all about. Everything that we expected from next gen and more is here in this game. And it starts with the graphics. This may be the best looking game I have ever played. I mean, look at the shine off of Clank's metal and the fur on Ratchet. So much detail. It's amazing just where we are right now in terms of games. There are times when it feels like you are watching an animated movie, not playing a video game. Now, as we all know, graphics are not everything. Luckily, this game isn't just graphics. Everything about this game is amazing. Gameplay-wise, it's just like any other Ratchet & Clank game. You swing around a wrench with Ratchet, and you get to take advantage of some of the best weapons in the entire franchise. You start off with weapons like the Burst Pistol and Scatter Bomb, but then you move on to weapons like the Lightning Rod, a gun that shoots little bolts of electricity, the Negatron Collider, a powerful cannon that delivers a beam that can knock out multiple enemies, the Enforcer, a close combat minigun that is deadly to anybody that is near it, the Temporary Sprinkler that can turn enemies into plants and make it easier for you to hit them, and so many more weapons. And the more you use these weapons, the more powerful they become. Every time you hit an enemy with these weapons, there's a bar that goes up and then upgrade your weapon. Get it up to level 5 and you get a very powerful weapon out of that. But there's also another way to upgrade these weapons. Throughout the game you get Raritanium, which is nothing new in a Ratchet & Clank game as it's been used before, but this time when you get Raritanium, you can take it and use it to upgrade your weapon at any point. It could include increasing your blast radius, increasing the amount of ammo that's on there, shortening down the cooldown period. Pretty much, the more times you use your weapon and the more Raritanium you get, the more powerful your weapons become, and that's not good for your enemies. Now Ratchet and Newcomer Rivet also have melee weapons that they can use, in Ratchet's good old trusty wrench and Rivet's hammer. However, those are weapons that you don't want to use as often. The way that these enemies are, if you use them too often, you are going to die a whole lot. It's better to use the weapons in your arsenal rather than just use your wrench or hammer. But there are times when you can use that, but you don't want to rely on it. It's also worth moving around a whole lot, because if you are standing still, you're just making yourself an easier target for these enemies. And to get out of a tight jam, you can also phase. This is a new feature in the game. All you have to do is hit the circle button, and then you're moving in the direction that you can get. And if there's a beam coming at you, it's worth using it because it's like you were never there in the first place. The phase move is a welcome addition to the Ratchet & Clank formula. And it's not just useful in combat either. There are times when you want to use that phase move to get across long distances that you couldn't get to otherwise. Another thing that's going to help you in combat is there are these rifts that appear in certain parts of the level. And all you have to do is hit the L1 button and you basically beam across there. You can use that to get out of a tight jam, or to sneak up on an enemy that has no idea where you are. Basically, combat is very fast paced, and if you are not on your toes throughout the entire time, you are going to lose all of your health. There were times in the game where I was under 10, even 5 units of health, and I was just sweating it out trying to get through everything. And as for the boss battles, well, there's really only 2 main boss battles in the game. However, throughout it, you are battling against a lot of big enemies that could be counted as mini bosses. They could be indigenous creatures to the planet, members of Dr. Nefarious's army, even members of the pirates. And with these mini boss battles, you're not just fighting that brute itself, you're also fighting against other enemies that appear on the screen. So you've got to be moving around a whole lot, not only worrying about trying to deal with that enemy, but also dealing with the enemies that are around you. And if you are not careful, you're going to get hit a whole lot. That happened to me more times than I could count. Now, combat's not the only thing you do in this game, as Ratchet and Rivet can enter these pocket dimensions that give you sets of armor once you complete them. And these pocket dimensions are not just extensions of a level that you're on, these are completely different levels. And the load times, like that. There's not even a load time to it. All you gotta do is activate the pocket dimension and step right in. No black screen, no nothing. These challenges are basically platforming puzzles that you have to solve. It's pretty much just getting from point A to point B, but there are different challenges that are involved doing that. At one point you could be going across explosive points that require you to move quickly. Another time there could be a block of crates that you have to figure out which ones to shoot down to reach the next stage. Another time, you could be going across bounce platforms that you have to activate with one of your weapons, or else you're not going to get across. These pocket dimensions are just fun to do, and it makes a whole lot of sense with what's going on in this story. Now, Clank also has his mini games. He has to fix some anomalies that are going on within the game, and he meets this monk by the name of Gary, who Ratchet also meets later on in the game, and he has to fix it by basically escorting clones of his across a pathway, and he has to do that by using these spears that he gets. They could be a lift spear, speed, heavy, or electric. Once a required number of these clones of his gets across, then he moves on to the next one. Do this 3 times in one anomaly, and you fix whatever happened during that part of the game. There's also parts in the game where Ratchet and Rivet have to go across these acid-filled parts of the level. They can't go across it by themselves, so they require the help of Speedles. The Speedles are able to not be hurt by the acid, and they can jump off of ramps if you're going fast enough. However, it gets old after once or twice of doing it. And the last thing you do in this game is Ratchet has this companion called Glitch. Glitch is able to hack into a computer and fight a virus that may or may not be alive. And these are fun to do, as you're trying to find parts of the virus that's affecting the computer. Find all the parts, and you fix the computer, and Ratchet can use it. And it's also fun listening to Glitch be so nervous about wanting to help Ratchet out. He's just very cute. He really is. Now I'm about to talk about the story a little bit, so anyone that wants to skip ahead, just go to this time in the video, and you won't hear anything about it. Story-wise, this is the best out of any Ratchet & Clank game, which is saying a lot coming from me, because I think Ratchet & Clank Future, Crack in Time, is one of the best stories I have ever played in a video game. It starts off with Ratchet and Clank being retired from being heroes. How old is Ratchet? And having a party thrown in their honor. Clank has a surprise for Ratchet, which is that he rebuilt the Dimensionator from Ratchet and Clank Future Tools of Destruction, and he wants Ratchet to use it to help find his family. But before Ratchet could say anything, Dr. Nefarious takes the Dimensionator and uses it to go to a dimension where he wins. During the fight between Ratchet, Clank, and Nefarious, the Dimensionator gets destroyed, all 3 get separated, and Clank gets damaged. Clank is later found by Rivet, who teams up with him and Ratchet to help find a way to meet Nefarious and get them back to their dimension and fix the dimensions. That's where the pocket dimensions and the rifts are coming from, the destruction of the Dimensionator, and they have got to fix it. Along the way, Ratchet meets a robot that he later names Kid, and she joins them in their quest to stop Nefarious. Meanwhile, Nefarious learns that the Nefarious in this dimension is the Emperor, and he kind of impersonates him to start off. What more could you expect from Nefarious? I mean, really, there's nothing he won't do. This story has so many twists and turns, and there are some very emotional moments in there, like when you learn just how Rivet lost her arm. As for the characters themselves, Ratchet and Clank are still the lovable duo that we have known for years, and some of their interactions are the best parts of this game.
Dr. Nefarious, meanwhile, is still the crazy villain that has been a thorn in their side for so long. Only this time, he does not have his butler, Lawrence, with him, so he's pretty much a one-man show.
This is what I get for giving my assistant paid paternity.
But still has some very hilarious moments. As for Rivet and Kid, they steal the show here. At first, Rivet does not trust Clank because of her experience fighting Nefarious over the years, and because of how she lost her arm. It takes some convincing by Clank to show that he's here to help, and that she can trust him. Kid, meanwhile, is just a tragic character. Throughout the game, she keeps telling the others that they are better off not knowing her, and that she cannot be a hero. And everybody tries to convince her that she can be. And once you see just what she has done throughout her life, you understand why she feels that way, especially when you find out the connection between her and Rivet. And then later on, you actually meet the Emperor of the Dimension, and he is completely different from the Nefarious that Ratchet and Clank have been fighting for years.
And if you're a Ratchet and Clank fan, then you're in luck, because there are so many callbacks to previous Ratchet and Clank games. I mentioned the Dimensionator, but there's also the hover boots that Ratchet got in Ratchet and Clank Future, A Crack in Time, the O2 mask that Ratchet has had since the very beginning, and doppelgangers of other characters like Skid McMarx, Captain Quark, and even Rusty Pete. There's a lot of fan service in this game, and diehards are just going to eat it all up. Now, the only negative things that I have to say about this game are the speedles that I mentioned get old rather quickly, and there are times when the camera just does some weird things. But all in all, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is the best PlayStation 5 game so far, and the best in the Ratchet & Clank franchise. And I mentioned that it's Insomniac's best game to date. It's got everything that we want in a next-gen game and more. If you have a PlayStation 5, get this game. And as soon as you get one, have this be the first game you pick up. Insomniac hit it out of the park again. It is amazing just what this company has done over the years, and if this game is not nominated for Game of the Year, then the voters have no business being voters for Game of the Year nominees. So I wonder what Insomniac's up to next. We're just gonna have to find out.